the final moments and the landmark occasion, episode 20, days before E3. I'm Joey.
I am Jordan.
Could it have
Number
been
20.
any more dramatic than that?
that was good. That was almost like previously on Sweaty Opinions.
Previously on Sweaty Opinions. Xbox One still not doing well.
Joey's very sweaty in a small room, very upset about Xbox.
But yeah, it sucks because we kind of have to do sort of a bridged, smaller episode this week because we need to save our bandwidth and probably go completely apeshit next week.
Exactly.
Starting Monday, and we're going to do a whole bunch of updates via Twitter, and we're setting up the YouTube page, which will be Sweaty Opinions as well. So make sure you check our Facebook and all of that good shit to follow along, because it's going to be interesting. I'm pretty excited here. It's not going to lie, I'm pretty stoked. I have the list of the beer places I should be checking out while I'm in town, and
well, that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. And today was the National Donut Day, so I'm going to try to find some of those places in LA as well. Just going to get fat the entire time, and maybe fucking. But
just a lot of bread up in you. A lot of breading.
So, I mean, we'll get right down to it, I guess, for the most part. Many of you. Meanwhile, I'm getting text messages about the Xbox One right now from A1 John Pfeiffer. Is it true Xbox One games aren't compatible with 360 games? Funny you should mention that. We'll talk about that today.
Yeah,
it's like our
there
first
you go.
email.
Oh, Johnny.
Yeah, so I guess getting right down to it, we're going to talk about Game of Thrones, the last episode that was on this past week.
Sunday.
Yeah, last Sunday. I guess where to start? Go ahead, man. You lead the way here.
Oh man. Okay. Well. Okay. So. I guess that happened.
It did. It totally happened.
It totally was a thing that went down. For listeners who don't know, we're both pretty new to the books. We have I've read everything, but it was only in like the last year or two that I started reading the books. Joe, you are on book 4 now, correct?
I'm on book 4, correct?
Yeah. So we are both of even though we're still new to it, we are both in the party of we knew this was coming.
Yeah.
And you knew it was going to be this episode just because of the title of the episode. So we were both expecting it, and I was watching my girlfriend the whole time.
Yeah.
Just other stuff happened in the episode, but like the red wedding part. Oh, by the way, I guess we should put a spoiler thing out for this.
Here's the part of the thing with that. First of all, many of you who are fans of Game of Thrones who have not read the book, this is the problem with social media. Is that there's people like you and I who, and many other websites and good people in general who don't want something like that to be ruined. And the problem with it is that, I mean, the absolute, a spoiler alert, obviously. So if you, we're going to get into it, but shit goes down and there's really no filter anywhere. I think the only person I saw filter anything was Conan a little bit.
Yeah.
When he had George R.R. Martin on there, but that was Conan filtering himself. But I mean, like Daily Show or Colbert Report, none of that shit was filtered. And
it's in the pop culture lexicon.
Yeah, at this point, there's just there's no stopping that sort of thing. It's like, the second it happened, if you're on Facebook, forget it. And that's one of the reasons why I've strayed away from even getting on there anymore, because, I mean, a new movie comes out, shit like that gets ruined, a new episode of a television show. It's just, it's not really cool, to be honest. But anyway, as you were saying.
When we were... that day we were at my girlfriend's parents' house, and when we were coming back home, we were about a half hour behind. When the episode actually came on, and I was like, do not get on Facebook, do not look at your phone, because somebody is going to say something. So I mean, it's just kind of how it goes now. So I guess for this discussion, we'll keep spoilers from the books, events after this out of it. And obviously, if you haven't seen last Sunday's episode and it somehow hasn't been ruined, yeah, you might want to just skip this episode until after you watch it, but you definitely should watch it.
That's pretty much all we're going to talk about this
possible.
Yeah,
so. Because it was awesome. Like I know that we are kind of both in the same boat of like, how is this gonna translate to film to like TV, to like audio visual, and bottom line for me, like it was awesome. Just like everything else in this season has been, in a lot of ways I think it was more brutal than in the book, because you had the character of Talisa who was like totally preggers, and it's just like so it just made it that much more tragic and heartbreaking. So I mean, it was a home run in my mind. Like I was just nervous the whole time. Like, when is it going to happen? How like how's it going to go down? How are the events going to unfold? Oh my God, yeah. So
well, in the in the wide array of things that had happened, that a lot of people were complaining were different, and a lot of people were complaining about her character from the get go, kind of saying that she doesn't belong there, blah blah blah. And I actually saw a meme that was like her getting stabbed, saying, "I'm not even supposed to be here today," just stuff like that. But to be perfectly honest, man, I thought that it was well done, and they built her character up quite a bit, and I think that it was one of the moments on the show that I think actually they made the right decision for television. They really built her up the right way, and they kind of made Rob's character, who really, for all intents and purposes, is kind of a bland character in the book. He's one of the only characters that doesn't have a point of view chapters, much like all the other ones do. So they really painted Rob a specific way, and you got a lot of Rob. The show is very Rob heavy in general because he's an important character. But I think
he's
that
a dreamboat.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the whole thing, is that he is the pinnacle of good guy, you know what I mean? Like, you look at all the things that he has done and all the things that happened, and it's like he's the only one out of all the families that lived, picked up, basically got up in arms to fight for the right reasons. It wasn't about trying to rise to power. It was to avenge his father, and it's like he kind of just got it thrown at him. And the only thing that he did that was wrong was betray he basically betrayed a vow for love instead of political gain. And so it's like, really, he's the ultimate hero, and that's ultimate good guy, and they kind of had to paint him a little bit for the show. So I get it, and I totally understand why they made the love story there, but it was good. I thought it was well done, and it was one of the better surprises for the show for me.
Well, I mean, honestly, like if we want to get into like a little micro analysis of Rob here, which is definitely something kind of awesome that we can do now, because in the book you really couldn't. He was very lawful good like his father, but I don't know, actually, because like in the book, I'm pretty sure like the oldest Stark kids are supposed to be like 16 or something like that. So
he's supposed to be like only 16 or so, I think.
Richard Madden, the actor who played Rob, can't pull off a 16. I mean, Christ, like Arya, like by next season she's not going to be able to pull off a 16. Anyways, right. I digress. So like like in the book, you can see that it's just like the folly of youth that is his undoing. Like he kind of he gets his like he gets all mushy for this girl that he finds, when they overtake like a Lannister, kind of like a family loyal to the Lannisters. And here, like, and actually I think for a lot of people he became a little grating, because he had this mission, to go and avenge his father, basically to become his father and do what's right. And then he just eventually just wanted to go and be mushy and like have some hot banging sessions with Talisa or whatever. So like he kind of became like a little unsympathetic in that he was just going off to play grown-ups while he was supposed to be running a war. And like, so he that's kind of becomes his like Shakespearean tragic flaw, kind of, where like that's his undoing. So it's a little different in the show than in the books. He's a little bit more. Like I think he can get on people's nerves a little bit more in the show, but I'm sure people didn't like him in the book, just along with every character. But yeah, it's interesting because like that's something, what he did is something that his father wouldn't do. like Eddard Stark, I'm pretty sure like Eddard and Catelyn, like that was like an arranged marriage. Like it's like, well, here's the girl you're gonna marry because your brother's like dead or gone. I forget. I'm showing my noobness here, but that
You
was an arranged marriage.
noob.
Like he did what he had to do. Yeah,
yeah. Well, no,
he
it
did what he
definitely
had to do.
was. It was an arranged marriage. She was supposed to marry Brandon, or not? Or was it Brandon Stark? Yeah, and then he went to go save what was it, Lyanna, and then Ned had to go, took his place, and yada yada yada. Yeah, it was all arranged marriages, and Rob's kind of like not doing that.
He totally like shrugged that obligation, and it's not something that can be taken lightly in that universe. And he kind of found out via the treachery. So it's kind of interesting to see how like he wanted to avenge his father, he wanted to be his father, but he kind of lost his way, and then he totally paid for it way too much. Everybody paid way too much in that.
Yeah, but again, one of the things that is that he did lose his way, but that was really like the building in the show. Like that's kind of what that George R.R. Martin was there for all of it. He made it appear the way it did on the show, and made it different from the way that it was in the book. And I honestly think it was great. It was I couldn't have asked for a better episode. It's definitely one of the most jaw-droppingly shocking shows or episodes you will ever see in any television show ever. I mean, that's why the reactions were out of hand. So,
well, let's talk about the reactions here for a little bit, because that's been one of the most entertaining things for me. Like besides the episode just being phenomenal on all counts, like the stuff with Jon was awesome. The stuff with Dany and Sir Barristan and Sir Jorah, like that was awesome. It was just another awesome episode, and it became a very like this episode's probably going to go down in television history to some extent, just because, yes, it's coming right from like a book, adaptation, the events happen in the book, but like this doesn't really happen in TV too often. So, your normal viewing public, and even some of your really hardcore, thronies, as it were. Yeah, I mean, the reactions were unsurprisingly hilarious.
Yeah.
But also kind of annoying in some of them. Like, there's that whole, like if you search on the internet for, like a second or two, you'll find like a collection of tweets of people that they range from like very, humorous and tongue in cheek to like just people who just like, what show are you watching that like it's angered you that much? There's this subsection of like girls who are super butthurt because Richard Madden is now no longer going to be gracing us with his dreaminess, which for me personally, Tormund Giantsbane is the only hunk I need. So, I mean, it's, he's the hottest out of all of them, but like a lot of people seriously got their jimmies rustled over it. And, I bet George R.R. Martin's just like giggling to himself as he's just eating pie after pie.
Yeah. He doesn't look very healthy, by the way.
Well, like he has like a sub job as like playing Santa around Christmas time. So kind of works. But yeah, man, like it was like a lot of people like there's reactions like people like I tried to get a bunch of people together to like watch it because I just wanted to like see how this affects people, because when I read this, I was sitting in my room like it was like 2 a.m. I should have went to bed a while ago, and I just got it kind of blindsides you in the book. It's like a third, 2/3 of the way through, and it's just like, well, so I guess the war is over. How is there any more book? Like it just blindsides you. Just dumbstruck, and clearly that was the reaction with a lot of people. So that was really cool / amusing to see.
Well, you and I talked a little bit about this, like we were texting back and forth as it happened. But while it blindsides you to a degree, in the book and definitely on the show, I feel like in the book, Martin drops subtle hits where you see the writing on the wall a little bit. I mean, like the whole thing, the major difference in the book is that what's her name, Jane, right? Is that her name?
Yeah. Yes.
She can't get pregnant, and wasn't it because she? I don't know if I'm going into spoilers here. Well, anyway, she couldn't get pregnant, and the long and short of it is that, Rob's worried about it, and Catelyn's worried about it, and she's worried about it because he can't, he doesn't have an heir, and then he gets all the guys together like Umber, and they basically are like, oh yeah, we're gonna. He makes them sign this paper, basically making Jon Snow, not be a bastard anymore, and he'll be the heir to Winterfell. So it's like you kind of see the writing on the wall. Like you're like, why all of a sudden is this such a big deal? Like something's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen. And to the degree of what happened, I don't think anybody saw it coming. Whether you read the books or watched the show, I don't think anybody saw that coming. But you know that something is on the horizon for sure. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, you definitely get a little bit of sense of impending doom because it's like, we're going to this guy's house, and we really pissed him off. But I don't think anybody was expecting that scale of just absolute slaughter. And that actually that's kind of my one takeaway where I kind of wish they had done it, but clearly they got away with it. Is the whole like bread and salt thing, where they really they showed it in the show. Like they showed them eating bread and salt, and like at the very most, it was just a scene where people were like, okay, I guess they're eating bread and salt for whatever. Maybe that's how they greet each other in Westeros or whatever. But like they just downplayed that's like an age-old tradition and a symbol of safe passage while you're in someone's house. And that's what makes it even crazier is that Martin sets this rule and then he breaks his own rule, because in the book, like Catelyn's like, as soon as you get in there, you eat bread and salt, get the bread and salt right away. And there's the whole thing with like, oh, we want to bring Grey Wind in with us, and they're like, nah, he's got to stay outside. And so it's like you think he's safe because, like he's like, oh, that's right, I need bread and salt. And then like Walder Frey's like, oh, I almost got you. And then, he totally just like, and then, the events unfold anyways. So like, it was kind of weird in the show that they just kind of skipped over that because that's something that, that never happened before. Like you respected that tradition and what the phrase did was absolutely unheard of as far as breaking that tradition and then breaking it in the brutality, in the brutal way that they did. So I think it was an interesting choice and an interesting omission in the show. I don't know if like if you kind of thought about that as well, or
I said, the only thing that really stood out for that was in the beginning that basically Walder Frey's like, oh, I offer you the safety of the house and blah 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 blah. But as I'm watching, I'm like, that's it. That's all he says. Like I think it should have been established a little bit more. Like maybe they could have talked about it, or offhandedly about made up some bullshit story. Anything that they've done it before with weird little anecdotes and stuff like that, but they chose not to with that whole safety thing. So I think that it should have been like it definitely should have been more out there than it was. But again, there's a reason for everything, and I feel like they haven't really made a whole lot of mistakes with the things they've chosen to omit as of yet. So I mean, there could be a reason for it, and I also think that they might talk about it a little bit more in the next episode for sure. So you never know.
Exactly. So I guess let's talk about Roose Bolton, man, and how awesome. Like I don't have the actor's name in front of me right now, but just how like the looks that he was given, like when Catelyn sees the chainmail and just kind of like his. It was very to kind of go on like a tangent here. The whole scene felt very operatic, very play-like. It was all the stabbing, it was all very dramatic, and like her, Catelyn's kind of like death wail, like it all seemed very grandiose and very kind of like stage play. And like Roose Bolton's, coming back in and like, the Lannisters say, send their regards or whatever, oh my god, it was so cool.
Yeah, it was very well done. His, I will say that the one thing that is jarred, like my memory and is not going to leave was his face. I mean, he was by far what I took away from it the most, like the looks that he gave her, and like it's like a weird, almost like not quite sly smile, but it's like there, you know what I mean? Like the look that he gave her, he's just a great actor, and I think that they really did a great job of establishing his character over the last couple of episodes and in the last couple of months. The one thing that I take away from it is like him sitting there and her pulling off, the cloth with the mail. So it was definitely something that, really, really awesome. Like you said, put together like a Shakespeare play, that whole scene. So really, really cool.
Oh yeah, and then just the touches of like, no music over the credits. Like, even though I think what would have been more fitting is Andrew WK covering the Rains of Castamere, but like whatever.
Whatever.
Maybe we'll get that.
Party Castamere.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, I love Andrew WK. I'm just saying, I'm just thinking of that I'm referencing that Aqua Teen episode.
Yeah, but yeah, like the no music, just leaving it there at the end after that horrible scene. Like, yeah, like I think that really contributed, just that kind of meta decision. Like it's not part of the story. It's just planning out the TV show. I think that just added to it even more, because it just left the audience there cold. Like it didn't call you a cab. It just was like, get out. Like, put a cigarette out on you. Oh my God, dude. And I think that's kind of what contributed to people got really worked up over, and like rightfully so. But it is just kind of silly, because it's something that's existed since like 2000, 2001, something like that.
Been out for 10 years, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, but it's new to a lot of people, and actually based on like the tweets and stuff like that, I don't think that some people out there realize that it's based off of anything. Yeah, so it's kind of funny, but like the anger, to go back to like the reactions real quick, it's okay to be angry at it. Like you're supposed to be, like it's supposed to be infuriating, because this guy, this like this shitty, unlikable old dude, just completely, absolutely thunderfucks the Starks, and you're supposed to be angry and stuff like that. But there's people like who are like giving up on the show, and who knows, if they're just being butthurt and getting their jimmies rustled, and they just need time to calm down, and they'll be back this Sunday. But it's like, okay, if some piece of media elicits that kind of reaction in you, don't you think that the people behind that show, that book, that movie, that video game, whatever, are doing something right then?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
How much stuff makes you feel like that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the thing that, there was an AV article that I posted on Facebook this week on The Onion, and I don't have the author's name right now, the writer in my head, but or in front of me, but they hit it right on the head in saying that the reason why it's so significant is not because, it kills off these characters, not because it's shocking, but because it is the death of hope. It's the entire time you're watching it, you're like, okay, these are the good guys. These are the good guys. They're going to somehow prevail. Even like the wolf, you think the wolf might escape and run in and save somebody, or even when Catelyn's like, just let him go, you think for a split second there's a glimmer of hope. Well, maybe Rob will be able to walk away, and it all comes crashing down. It just fucking destroys and shatters the people that that we're fighting for the right reasons the entire time, for the most part. So I think that's the hardest thing to swallow, because when you take away the protagonists in a story where you want them to succeed so badly, and you pull them out of the story, what story do you have left? And I can say, and I can vouch that the story, keeps getting better and keeps getting, not necessarily getting better, keeps, it's still good, it's still awesome, and that is why Martin is such a fantastic writer, because it's basically like, it's like a taunt. Like he just took off his glove and slapped you in the face and said, now watch me write something better, because that's exactly what he does. And, I think the people that are upset right now are going to be like, still going to be into it. They're still going to be watching it. And it's just a fantastic show and fantastic writing all around.
My advice would be, keep watching. Absolutely keep watching. And yeah, man, like that's kind of the thing. Like I think it speaks to just the power of that scene, where it just pulls you in and keeps you right there, that you don't think that, like, okay, Jon Snow's still alive, Dany's still alive, Tyrion's still alive, Arya's still alive, Littlefinger, all these people, like there's so many stories being told. Rob and Catelyn's was just one, and it's like that and their deaths it wasn't cheap. It wasn't just to piss people off. Like, their deaths do have meaning, and you will, as a reader or as a watcher, you will see. You need to you need to trust. You need to trust your storyteller. That's one of the things that I really dislike. I get annoyed by when you're watching. Like, if you've watched the movie before, you've read like the book or whatever, and like somebody's like, "Well, wait, what's going to happen?" Or like, "Well, what does that mean?" It's like, just watch it. Just be quiet and like enjoy the ride. Yeah. Be taken on the ride. And that's the thing. I like when I read it, super late at night, just sitting there. I just had to take the punch in the gut, and I was like, "Oh, what? Really? What the what?" And then I was like, "Well, let's see how this pans out." And he's just masterful. It gets better. Yeah, it was just very, very sad. But the book goes on, and to not get into it,
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's a great episode, and like I said, the series is going to keep continuing getting better. My only concern, and I've said this before, is that I think that after next season, it's going to be interesting to see what the ratings are. I think next season will be an all-time high for them.
Yes.
I
agree.
I think next season is going to be where it peaks. That's not to say that the story doesn't get worse or better for that matter. However, I just said it, but. But I think that you can only have so much explosive scenes, so many explosive scenes like this, and that eventually it's got to come back down. And I think that people need to understand that, that there's 5 books now. He's got 7 to write the entire thing, and we are in the middle of book 3 right now. So no matter what you think you've seen and what you think where it's going to go, like, we've got a ways to go yet. So yes. I mean, we're not even halfway through what he's written. So exactly. I think that it's going to be great, and it's going to go down as one of the greatest shows of all time, simply for this moment. This will be in top 10 moments, for the rest of the time. So,
well, I mean, like that's the thing. Like, season 4, based on our knowledge of book 3, season 4 is not going to really turn down the intensity much, if at all. No. I think that's a fair statement, and so I think that you've got a point with book 4. Like, how did you finish book 4? How far?
No. I had to take a break because when we were talking about it earlier this year, I basically flew through 2 and 3 in not even 2 months. So I mean, we're talking like in the big versions I had, that's like almost 3,000 pages, I think. So, or, maybe a little bit less, maybe more like 2,000, like 2,500. But I mean, it was a lot of Game of Thrones at one time for me. And yes. I just kind of had to take a break. So I started the 4th one, and I'm like, this is good, but I need a fucking break from this. So now that I'm watching this, I'm going to be out of Game of Thrones after this weekend. So it's going to be, got to get back into it. So I have and own the last 2 books. So I'm just going to basically, I plan on reading a lot of Feast for Crows, basically on my flight to and from, and I'm a good chunk in, not very, very far, but I plan on finishing that up as soon as possible, so I don't,
Gotcha.
I can be that guy that's pointing and laughing when things happen.
Well, I mean, kind of to echo what you said about season 5, it is going to be interesting. I mean, just because you can't operate at 11 the whole time. We're the series is at a fever pitch right now, and the books don't keep going like this with this kind of intensity and this kind of body count and stuff like that. They're very good, but I mean, it's going to be interesting because I think that some people might erroneously expect just every season, every episode 9 of every season is just going to be like, well, who's getting voted off the island? And it's not necessarily like that. But I mean, so time will tell.
Completely. Yeah, we'll see. But all in all, so far, I loved it. Great episode, and it's only going to get better from here. So.
Oh yeah. But even though season 10, episode 10 is just going to be like. I mean, like, they're always good. The episodes are always good, but it's like, this it's just going to be like it's going to set up the cliffhanger or whatever, but it's like, how do you follow up, and clearly he followed up, that quote unquote episode in the book, but like with an episode of TV, like how do you follow that up? So like this is just going to be phoning it in, like, yep, we'll see you in a year.
Yeah,
and that's going to sting so much for people.
Yeah, oh my God, yeah. Well, it's one of those things that I think to end, if you would have ended the first season with Ned getting killed, it would have been like, what the fuck? This show's over. And I'm not going to watch it. But you need some sort of like, let's bring the people back for a little bit and calm them down and like set up the next season and get people interested. Cool. Same thing with the Battle of Blackwater. It's like, holy fuck. And then it's like, all right, well, here, all the crazy shit goes down. I can't remember the last episode of the second season.
It was like the Valar Morghulis, and it ended with the White Walkers kind of approaching the Fist of the First Men.
Yeah. So again, like a decent enough, like the shocking shit got out of the way, and they left a nice little sort of cliffhanger for the next season. This one, it's got to be the same thing. I think if you would have just ended with Catelyn's throat getting slit and her dropping to the ground with being in black, there would have been fucking there would have been riots in the streets.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, never mind the fact that it's shocking already, but it's like somebody would fucking, people would lose their mind over it. So, but I mean, we could talk about this episode in the series all night. You know how that goes.
Indeed.
So,
well, I think we hit our mini episode DLC.
I think so.
I think we tied that up pretty good. I think we're really on point today, Joey. I think we each get a gold star.
Definitely gold star. But I mean, there's so much more we want to talk about. But again, we don't want to get too winded because this week is the big E3. Like we had said previously, definitely check out YouTube. Check out our Twitter at Sweaty Opinions. We're going to be kind of hitting it from every angle we possibly can this week, and just really trying to get the normal guy, average dude, fucking look at E3. This is the first time we're going to be there, and I know a lot of people. It's kind of like a dream to go to something like that. It's cheesy and textbook as that sounds. I think that it's not far from the truth. So we're going to try to do the best we can in getting the point out there and really letting people see what goes on behind the scenes. So pretty excited.
Expect a lot of content from us here.
Episode 20, previews of more stuff to come. Thank you always for listening. I am Joey.
And I'm Jordan.
And we will see you soon. E3.
Derp.
Cries off the wind, gonna take a real man to tell you when you're asleep. Hear that sound? Whoa! It's the hundreds that surround. They came all this way, and they wanna see the child. You don't have to explain.
Thanks for listening to Sweaty Opinions. Subscribe on iTunes and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Sweaty Opinions. Email us your questions to sweatyopinions@gmail.com. Check out The Teeth, facebook.com/The Teeth Rot. Check out Pandas at facebook.com/Pandas Destroy.